Welcome, and really appreciate everyone coming, our panelists and the audience. I think we're going to have a really good, productive discussion today. Won't waste a lot of time here with the introductory remarks because I know our panelists have a lot to say, and you don't really want to listen to me. So just a quick introduction with us today. We have down at the far end of the table from me, Joan Zepecki, Diversity and Community Outreach Coordinator at Hunzinger Construction. Then we have Tim Brown, Recording Secretary for the Milwaukee Area Labor Council and a trustee for Local 8 of the Bricklayers and Allied Craftworkers. John Swan, President and Business Representative of Local 113 Laborers International Union of North America. Then we have Jeb Meier, Vice President of Preconstruction at Greenfire Management Services. And then right to my left, we have Willie Wade, Chief Executive Officer of Employ Milwaukee. So once again, thank you all for coming, and we'll get started right away. My first question is for Joan. With Hunzinger Construction being a large construction manager and general contractor, how do you guys go about making sure you have diverse subcontractors on projects?
Well, we do a variety of things. I think the most important thing we do is utilizing I square foot to do our advertising and outreach. We can reach out directly to subcontractors when we're advertising a bid. So we keep our database, our I square foot, updated with making sure that we have SBE, MWBE from the different state, city, and MMSD lists. Also, we have people marked within our database, whether they're NMSDC or WeBank certified. So we do a lot of direct contact. We also will advertise in the Daily Reporter. If we don't, once we send out our notices, if we don't get a response, we get on the phone and we start calling to ensure that people are aware of the project, they have the plans, if they're willing or able to bid. So that's a big part of it. And then once we do receive bids, we work very closely with the companies on doing our scope reviews to ensure that people have everything in their bid they need to have in their bid, because the worst thing you can do with minority or women-owned contractors is engage in a contract where they've missed something and it ends up costing them money and it's bad for everybody. And so we kind of see ourselves in that role as more of a mentor when we're doing scope reviews to make sure that everybody who is bidding the job is including everything they need to so that it keeps their companies strong and healthy. So that's pretty much it. I encourage any contractors that I meet to engage in I square foot and to keep contact with us. I give out my email, my cell phone number to pretty much anybody I meet, encouraging them to contact us.
All right, well, great. Thank you, and I guess we'll just move on down the line there to Tim Brown. What do the Bricklayers do for their members to help them make the trade more diverse and inclusive?
Well, first off, the Bricklayers and Allied Craftworkers hired an African-American organizer, which ensures that their leadership mirrors the membership. So, people want to feel comfortable. They want to feel confident in who is representing them. So that's one major thing that they've done. Again, hire an African-American, myself. Also putting on train-the-trainer classes for not just minority individuals, but everyone. So we want our individuals who are becoming journeymen to be able to know how to talk to the average individual. Just simply knowing how to talk to people, how to treat people on the job. And again, it's not really just focused on one group of people, but more inclusive, everyone included in the trainings that we put on. And again, these trainings are for leaderships specifically, for the agents, the organizers, and also for the membership. So they offer a number of different training, train the trainer, how to organize immigrant workers, And again, simply, even through role play, how to communicate with people differently, because everybody doesn't communicate the same. So those are a few things that we do. Also, I've personally taken classes in organizing, offering role playing. And again, these trainings are organic. They're really derived from the climate of the construction industry. So one thing that might work now, it may not work, a month or a year from now. So our directors and our international president, they're able to, be at the forefront of different things that we can do to stay with the times, basically, and address these issues as they come.
All right, well, great. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to John Swan here, and I don't know. As an aside, do you want to mention the fact that Joe Biden is going to be at the Labor Hall today, or is that worth mentioning real quick?
Yes, former Vice President Joe Biden will be at our Labor's Local 113 on Appleton and Burleigh. It is open to the public at 2 p.m. So if you can show up, might be a little crowded, but we'll make some things work. So you're more than welcome to show up.
Yeah, probably show up early because security is probably going to be pretty tight, right?
Right,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, my question for you is, how does Labor's Local 113 help minority residents along the same path here, same lines?
We pretty much mentor a lot of students from high schools such as Bradley Tech, Obama High School, North Division, and we pretty much do a lot of outreach and let them know how to get into the trades, what's suspected, and pretty much, give them information so they can change their career in this industry. I know some of the ones that come through our organization, it was a game changer, and pretty much they were able to move their families out of the residence that they currently lived in and live a better life. So that's some of the things that they pretty much went through the local, and it was a game changer for them. So
Great. Okay. On to Jeb Meier. Can you tell us a little of Greenfire Management's story and why diversity is important to your company?
Sure. Thank you, Dan. So Greenfire is a construction manager and general contractor with offices here in Milwaukee and Wausau. We were founded in 2010 by the Potawatomi Business Development Corporation. The corporation is the business development arm of the Forest County Potawatomi. The corporation was set up to invest and build capacity for tribal members, future generations of tribal members. And as a minority-owned contractor, diversity, inclusion, and community impact were some of the core values that our company was built on. The Forest County Potawatomi lived by these core values and really integrated them into all aspects of the business. Throughout the few short years that we've been around, we've really focused on projects that are very impactful on the community. We have completed, some significantly impactful projects. The Garfield Griot historic renovation at 4th and North, the Legacy Lofts historic renovation at 15th and North, both affordable housing projects. We're also working on the historic renovation of the former Concordia University campus on the near west side, and trying to make a positive impact on the neighborhood in that area. Overall, our goal is to make a positive impact on the community while providing opportunities and building capacity for Milwaukee.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. And moving on to Willie Wade right next to me here. Along the same lines that we've been all talking about here, I think everybody's been hitting on this theme, but in your opinion, how do we build up the minority workforce a little bit in the city, the state?
Well, well, there's several things that we have been doing and that we are doing and that we can do. I'll go back to my time on the Common Council as an alderman. One of the biggest things that we did to build capacity in workforce, in construction in particular, was the Moore Ordinance. The Moore Ordinance required 40% residency preference participation on any company or development project that was getting at least $1 million worth of subsidy from the city, which was a lot of projects. So the 40% of their workforce had to come from the city of Milwaukee. The city of Milwaukee has almost, 46%, maybe even 51% minorities. So there was an opportunity to build capacity there. You know, we knew what type of development was getting ready to happen with the streetcar, with Northwestern Mutual building, the new arena, et cetera, et cetera. So we knew we didn't have the capacity, not only from a minority standpoint, but from a workforce standpoint in general, to handle multiple development projects. So the Moore Ordinance. The other thing from a legislative standpoint was the wheel tax. I know that's not a popular piece of legislation, but the legislation was very important for building minority workforce because the wheel tax was just for residents of the city of Milwaukee, and we probably got into the city close to $6 million a year in revenue. And what did that revenue do? It gave us the opportunity to repair our infrastructure in the city. Before that, we were just patching potholes, and we kept doing that over and over, and that it wasn't any future in that. So now we started repairing streets. We did it based on priority of the streets, but what it also did too was it was a work program, because a lot of the companies that were doing the work were companies that were located in the city, which meant that it was easier for people within the city to get to those companies and apply for work opportunity. Some of the other things that we're doing at Employ Milwaukee, we're working with Bradley Tech High School students, trying to introduce those students to career opportunities in different trades early on in their life, to make sure that they know what opportunities are there, what quality of life benefits it is for becoming working in the construction industry. And then at Employ Milwaukee, we have a mobile workforce connections group. And that team goes out and meet people wherever they are. Because for us to think that people are just gonna come to Employ Milwaukee wasn't proper thinking. We have to go meet people where they are, where they're comfortable. We introduce them to the workforce. We get information on them. We can communicate back and forth with them. We let them know a lot of workforce stuff that's going on, and we let them know some of the programs that we have as far as training, uplift, on-the-job training, other things that we can do to try to enhance the workforce. So those are some of the things that we're doing at Employ Milwaukee, and some of the things that's going on in the city of Milwaukee and Milwaukee County to enhance minority participation in the workforce. And that's across the board, not just in construction, in all of the growing fields that we have, financial, health, all the other fields also. So it's an ongoing effort, but we're on top of it.
Do you find, Willie Wade, that some people are still reluctant to go into construction? You hear this all the time, just because there's this misconception about what the work entails, or they don't want to work with their hands, and they have a notion of it's backbreaking labor or something like that. And
yeah, there's a lot of stories about construction. But construction is a very rewarding field. You can live a high quality of life in the construction field. But the construction field historically was occupied most by European American males. So it wasn't a very welcoming environment for minorities or women. So because of that, the people that got into the environment didn't get the type of welcoming that they thought they should have gotten. And then you had the economic downturn, which meant now there's not a lot of development going on, there's not a lot of work, people had to get laid off, and it lasted for a period of time where people got into other ways to support themselves and their family. So now getting back to the boom that we have now, there are some things that the construction and the trade industry has to do to improve its history and its identity, and there are a lot of young people who look at it as an opportunity, who like working with their hands. So we have to get that in front of them, let them see it, and then let them decide for theirself if that's something that they would like to do for a career choice. So there's some stuff that has to be on the marketing side for the trades that would help enhance those opportunities.
Yeah, I think all of us in this room are very familiar with those themes. All right, well, going back down to Joan Zepecki, I know this is probably a very big question for everyone here. Hunzinger is obviously a very big contractor. A lot of people would like to get on the jobs that you work on. What could a small company do to build a relationship with Hunzinger?
Well, one of the ways, there are a number of ways to get in front of us or get to know us. And at the end of the day, the construction industry, it's very challenging, it's hard work, you have to have high productivity, but it's also a people business. And so we encourage small subcontractors to come into our office, to meet with our project managers. I'll take people around and introduce them to our individual estimators, our project managers, make sure you're included on our database so that we're getting information out to you when there's jobs and bidding opportunities available. But also for us to understand what your capabilities are, a little bit about your history, what your business has done, where you're growing, and just build a relationship. So I always kind of joke, bring in a dozen donuts and come in and walk around the office and shake hands. It's that kind of old-fashioned kind of making connections with people. We also, just through Hunzinger itself, we are very involved in sustainable and green building, and we go to offices and do lunch and learns and talk about LEED and talk about how to become a LEED GA, and we offer classes for free for subcontractors and their employees to take the LEED GA or LEED project manager training. And so we do those kinds of things. And it's really just getting out in front of us, making those connections. We attend some trade fairs. We'll do NAMAC activities and NMSDC. But a lot of it as well is getting on the phone, looking in the database to see who is out there and talking with them about their businesses. I think back to someone like Shannon Jefferson, who called me one day out of the blue, who owns Gibraltar Cleaning, and I think it was 2 years of back and forth talking before we found the right fit, the right project for her to work on. And we've been working with her company now for the last 4 or 5 years. But sometimes making that relationship can take, it's not just one phone call, it's not just one email, it's literally sometimes a couple years of finding the right project.
Yep, persistence is the key to success in so many different walks of life. Along similar lines, I'm sure Tim Brown, when you're out there trying to reach out to minorities and interest more in the construction field, persistence plays a big role in that as well. Can you talk a little bit about some of your efforts in outreach?
Well, a lot of the things that we do, it involves partnerships. That's key in building any type of infrastructure for reaching out to minorities. So one group we've worked with, Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, LACLA, Labor Council for Latin American Advancement, APRI, A. Philip Randolph Institute, Milwaukee Area Labor Council. So the partnerships that are already in place are most effective just because they are already in place. They have a history. CBTU, who better to reach out to than the individuals who are affected by a certain situation, So Latin American individuals, you want to talk to those groups that talk to those people every day and know their struggles. So these are some of the groups that we reach out to. I'm actually a member of CBTU. But again, there's so many groups already out there. You just have to look for them. They're out there and they have information. They have resources. And these partnerships, again, I can't stress enough, the partnerships that you create, even up here, everyone, exchange information. These are all partnerships, and if we have the same goal of doing outreach and to a minority, to women, to LGBTQ, we have to reach out to these organizations that are already in place and utilize these partnerships. You know, it's inclusive. So those are some of the things we do. Also, locally, the chapter that I belong to, we started a pilot program. It's a Camp Union Success Program. It's turning a high school education into employment. So it's basically giving incentive to teens that might not be doing so well in school. They always see, you know, people driving nice cars or doing this or that, and they don't see the value in their education. But we're putting money where our mouth is, and we're backing them up, saying, hey, if you do well in school, you present yourself well, we'll support you. And they don't get that a lot. So it's surprising to them that, you know, a group in the community, again, is in the forefront of this, but is necessary. Things that people take for granted, some kids don't get. You know, so I'm just happy to be a part of an organization who is streamlining and being at the forefront of different things, just to try something. You know, if you don't try, you know, it's just a good thing to do. So that's what I encourage everyone to do. Look up their constituency groups, organizations that are already in place, and that'll definitely help in attracting minorities.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, similar question for John Swan, or at least on similar lines. You know, I'm sure you guys do a lot of outreach. What kind of success have you seen? What percentage of your membership is made up of minorities? And kind of a follow-up question there. What are some of the obstacles you see to bringing more diversity in?
Well, we pretty much, in the 6-county area, we pretty much have over 2,700 members. That's including retirees. 30 to 35% is minority. We're the largest local in the state for that diversity. A lot of trades, a lot of individuals that want to jump into the laborers union. It's like a set base for them to start off their career, you know, straight out of high school. I've been doing it for 22 years. I started in 1997, worked at Miller Park, and I was 18 years old, even when the crane collapsed. Finished to end, I was on that project from job to job. I worked with numerous people, retirees that pretty much back then was the baby boomers. Majority of them are pretty much retired. They pretty much taught me and paved the way for me to be in the position I'm in now to help minorities and also other ethics. I pretty much encourage all of the minorities that came in through the laborers. They pretty much going to go through a bumpy road, and that's because a lot of minorities is not the leader on that project. They might not be the foreman, they might not be the superintendent, they might not be the project manager, but you got to come in and work your way up the ladder like I did. And I done show them the way to do that, and that's showing up on time, giving your day's work, and making sure that you're not getting stuck into the politics when you're on these jobs and trying to be the last guy on there. Help one another out. And a lot of them state that they want to be in my position, but they don't want to fill the shoes to get there. So there's a lot of commitment, making sure that, going, when we did the city hall, we did the scaffold around there, that's 300 or 400 feet. I had to build that scaffold that was on that project. Everybody wanted to be on the ground. You got to pretty much go out there and be the leader and show, how it is to be that number one guy to complete these projects for the contractors so it's done on time. When I first started, I started off at ACH, which was Huber, Hunt, Nichols, Clark, and Hunzinger. Hunzinger is a great company to work for. Joe Becker hired me. Randy Hansen was my foreman, taught me everything. I learned how to pour concrete. I demoed. I did excavation. Also helped out on landscaping and of that sort. And working from job to job, I took that experience and pretty much applied it to the projects that I worked on from start to finish. I would say that it is a rough start. Individuals can move forward on this, but you got to be determined, you got to be willing to get the job done. So that's pretty much some of the challenges that I had. I pretty much succeeded by the help of union brothers and sisters that's been there for me, that gave me the information that I needed to get to where I'm at. So I would like to thank 113 because they've been there. So, and I'm gonna continue doing the same thing for the minorities. And like I said, the other ethnics that come through that want to succeed in this construction industry.
If I could, John, I think you make a really good point. A lot of guys want to be on the ground and don't want to be up. If you come in with the right attitude, there is a lot of room to really make a serious career and really move up the ladder. But it takes that really positive attitude and knowing that you might be taking orders from somebody or a bunch of different guys. And maybe they're guys who don't know as much as you, but when you put the work in and you put the time in, pretty soon that gets recognized really quick and you can really move up and move on. Yeah.
You know, I pretty much was a foreman at age 23 years old. I became general foreman at the age 25, and I was superintendent at age 28 years old. I worked at Bechdel, one of the largest contractors in the world, at a power plant in Oak Creek. Stayed on that project almost 6 years from start to finish. And I pretty much had over 375 people working for me. So I pretty much, the laborers and the individuals that I worked with was committed to me. I was committed to them. That's how we succeeded. That's how we got the job done. That's how we got done safe and made sure that Bechdel made money, the unions made money also. So it was a great insight, and I was happy to help make sure that individuals go home the same way they came in. And trust me, it wasn't good or easy for me because I did have individuals that was older than me. At the age of 28 years old, you got a guy that been in 20, 25 years, it's gonna be hard, especially when you're telling him what to do and he's been doing this way longer than you. But after you build that relationship, they understand where you're coming from, they respect your authority, and that's how you succeed. Don't abuse your power.
Yeah, it's proof there that you can rise quickly in the industry if you're doing all that by age 28. That's goes back to I suppose persistence, which we were talking about at the beginning of this part of the discussion. My next question is for Jeb Meier, and probably going to be along similar lines, similar themes. What does Greenfire Management do to promote minority participation on construction projects?
Sure. Thanks, Dan. As I mentioned previously, our owner has advocated for diversity and inclusion since our existence. More recently, we've worked on some projects that had the City of Milwaukee SBE and RPP requirements that Willie had mentioned. So some of the things that we've done in order to ensure success with this is really doing our market research, and that's not only knowing what companies are out there, but their capabilities and opportunities as well. We ensure the execution of a fair and transparent bidding process. We want to make sure that everyone knows if they're submitting a proposal, they understand what the project requirements are, they understand how the project will be run, and then they know that they've got a fair shake at doing the work. And as a pure construction manager, we're not self-performing any of that work, so we're offering as many opportunities as possible. As part of the bidding process, we also have found a lot of success with outreach sessions, and that's opening up the project site or a community hall nearby, inviting subcontractors, local residents, anyone that may be looking for work, and trying to be a conduit for all those different groups. There's a lot of really good organizations in Milwaukee here doing great things, and we're just trying to do our part with being the conduit between some of those different entities in allowing our what may our typical subcontractors may be to potentially partner with up and coming smaller, potentially minority-owned contractors. If there's workers out there that are looking for work through Employ Milwaukee or some of these other groups, being that potential matchmaker and understanding what opportunities are out there is excuse me, really important. In terms of some of the creative ways that we've looked at this is by some mentor-protege relationships and partnerships. On a number of our projects, we've actually partnered subcontractors to potentially split up a scope of work and offer training. It requires a lot of planning. It requires doing something that's potentially slightly different, but we've had great success as long as everyone's upfront with what the initial capabilities are and what resources are available. Something as simple as dividing up the bid packages. Construction is there's certainly areas of it that you can kind of break through the typical process. On some of our projects, what we've done is something as simple as the painting scope, for example. We've broken that down into smaller components, offering opportunities for companies that may not be large enough to handle everything. So something that sounds fairly simple, but just requires a little more upfront planning and due diligence, but offers a lot of opportunities for companies. But ultimately, it comes down to understanding what those capabilities and resources are, providing support, and really promoting those partnerships.
Yes. Yep. Definitely another theme today. Partnerships. I think for that a lot. My next question is for Willie Wade here, yes, exactly along similar lines. What does Employ Milwaukee do to work with leaders in the construction industry?
Quite frankly, we do everything that we can to work with people in the construction industry, because we know that construction is a career, it's not a job. So the more a person can get into a career, the higher quality of life they can have. And that makes that impacts the cities from a safety standpoint, from a educational standpoint, from a crime standpoint. Having a parent in a career making good money gives them the opportunity to provide stability and guidance in a household. So all of those things impact the community as a whole. The other thing that we do is they're part of our board of directors. I got Pam and Dan in the room right now. There's two of my bosses keeping a keen eye on me. But they're part of our board of directors, and they provide guidance at the board level on what we can and what we should be doing to enhance relationships within the construction profession. And then we try to bring added value. They bring added value to the board, and we try to bring that added value out into the community, into the people who may be interested in the construction field. We work closely with WRTP Big Step to make sure that we get as many people who are interested in the trades into their midst so they can start working with them, meeting them where they are is our goal, and getting them maybe to an apprenticeship program, and get them into a journeyman status. And then we also partner with WRTP Big Step on grant opportunities that will enhance our ability to provide training for individuals who may need it in order to get into the construction field. So there's a lot of things that we do. And then, we have relationships with developers and companies like the ones that are Greenfire and Hunzinger. We have development with them. When they were doing the Bucks Arena project, we partnered with the Milwaukee Bucks on some job training and some uplift program. We work diligently with reentry individuals because they're coming back to the community. They have to have a job. Construction is an area that has been willing to accept them, and we work with the construction industry to give them opportunities to come back and provide for their families. So there are a lot of things that we do at Employer Milwaukee to work with the construction industry.
Yeah, definitely. We read about you guys a lot and hear about you guys a lot, so keep them busy.
Yeah, very busy.
We'll throw it back down to Joan down there, and this is kind of the flip side of the last question I asked you. The first question was if you're a subcontractor and you want to work with Hunzinger, how can you go about doing that? This question is, well, if I actually want to work for Hunzinger, how can I get a job there? That type.
Well, we're hiring laborers, carpenters, superintendents, pretty much everybody right now. But from the field standpoint, it's incredibly important. There are kind of two touchstones for us, and I'm sure it's the same for all union contractors. And one is to have a legal driver's license. And it's one of those touchstones of, having responsibility and being able to keep the driver's license. And we have actually helped guys and worked with WRTP Big Step. They have a program to help people get their driver's licenses reinstated. And part of that is sometimes when your kids, you have parking tickets and they're letting their tickets go and they lose their licenses. And it's a huge, huge impediment to getting into the workforce. The second, which cuts across all races, all ages, and you would be shocked how often it happens, is the inability to pass a drug test. It's huge. If you can pass a drug test in this day and age, you are going to be employed. It's painful because we'll go through the process of interviewing, checking references, great interviews, great references. The person can't pass a drug test, and unfortunately, they can't work for us. And it just wastes everybody's time, and it's a huge impediment. People don't realize weed stays in your system about 30 days. You got to be clean if you're going to get a job and keep a job. And these are good, great-paying jobs. But those are two really big, important things. I would say that once you're employed, we have our jobs advertised right now on our website. We typically call our friends at the union halls looking for folks. A lot of it's word of mouth. We ask our employees, do you have friends that are working or are interested in working? We have employees who their kids or friends of their friends are coming out of high school who are interested in the trades. Today a lot of kids are paying a lot of money, getting student loans. They're graduating with student loans, and they could have been in a carpenter apprentice program getting paid, and by the time you would have graduated college, you're already making full carpenter wages, and they're being paid, mid-$30 an hour, which is more than a lot of the college grad kids are working. I have a niece who graduated from college with honors. She's making $12.50 an hour. It's a huge difference. So it's encouraging, it's getting the word out, and it's letting people know. The other thing that we do is really, when we're interviewing people, is let them know about the residency preference program with the city of Milwaukee, with RPP. I think a lot of times we're giving our minority residents of the city of Milwaukee, we're doing them a disservice by it's not enough to be an unemployed minority worker. You need to be RPP certified. That's important because everything, a big part of our work is paperwork. And if there are RPP requirements on the job, you need to get RPP certified. And that is an address only, that is race and gender neutral. And people don't realize that. And so working with someone, if you've been off for 2 weeks, 15 days, and you're not RPP certified and you live in the city of Milwaukee, we encourage people, stay off the extra 2 days, go get RPP certified. It's absolutely critical to making yourself marketable and more valuable as an employee in the future. The same is true of Section 3. Section 3 is race and gender neutral as well. And we encourage people, to get that certification. And that's kind of how you do it. It's not rocket science. We're desperately looking for people right now, particularly concrete and carpenters.
If you go through an apprenticeship with Hunzinger, you mentioned that you're getting paid. Is the cost of the apprenticeship also covered? So it's nothing out of pocket for you? Is that
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good deal. What do you think the biggest barriers are still to bringing more people in?
Well, I think I think it's a cultural thing across our country right now. It's I think that construction is hard work, and construction is it's hard mental work, it's hard physical work, and I think a lot of kids, a lot of people want to try to find a way to make an easy buck, and when you really bring a strong attitude and a good attitude and want to work, I don't think there's a limit. I absolutely don't think there's a limit. I encourage kids all the time who are in college and struggling in college or don't really have a direction, look at the trades. Because I'll guarantee you, when you're sitting at a desk 8 to 10 hours a day, going to the gym an hour a day is not making up for being out physical working, and it's awesome. And it pays really well.
Can I
Yeah.
do a follow-up to that?
Yeah.
Just from a workforce standpoint, construction work is not promoted as glamorous work.
Right.
So parents don't encourage their kids to go into construction because they almost try to paint it as you're not successful if you don't go to college and get this degree and all of that. So they paint the trades as something bad. But I know from my position as an alderman and my position at the workforce board that people who work in the trades make a lot more money than some people who have 4-year degrees and they have steady work. So from a parenting standpoint, when you go to graduations, people say, oh, I'm gonna be a doctor or a lawyer. Everybody clap all loud. And when somebody say, I'm going to MATC to get into the trades, people don't look at that as glamorous. But the graduations that I'm at, I'm looking and saying, you know what? That person is gonna have money in their pocket faster. They can have a lot of money in their pocket, and they won't have a big student loan. And they're gonna be in demand in the marketplace. So just the reputation of construction doesn't compete well with parents and with young people as some of the, I want to be a banker or a financial advisor and all of that cutie pie stuff. So that's part of it too, is the image of the construction industry.
Yeah. I've been working in this business a long time. The smartest people I know are the superintendents. They're the hardest working. You have to be wicked smart to be able to, not only lead the guys, but lead the crews, but be able to translate what's on the plans and, what's on the plans into reality. And it's demanding work. It's mentally challenging and it's physically challenging.
And we all love the new Fiserv Forum. Guess who built it? It wasn't doctors and lawyers, I can guarantee you that.
Superintendents are under extreme lot of pressure because you got to go by safety, which is number one, and then you got a budget, okay? So them two right there is mandatory when you're doing this type of work. And some individuals that might be out in the field don't understand, let's go, we got to get this done, we're on a schedule. We must meet this deadline, and with that deadline comes safety also. So it plays a big factor.
Yeah, I'm sure it's high pressure work, but also very rewarding when you see a project that's completed.
Right.
All right. Well, this next question's just building off of all of that for Tim Brown. How are you involving high schools in the outreach to the minority population, and who specifically are you working with to make this possible?
So the different high schools we work with, first of all, we partner with Milwaukee Building Construction Trades Council, and through Dan Bukevich and the building trades, they have already had that connection with a number of high schools. So again, we've heard Bradley Tech mentioned a number of times, but Obama High School, Brown Deer, there's a number of different high schools that the building trades has adopted, and in doing this is opening up those doors that were closed years ago when the vocational tech classes and courses were taken out of our public schools. So we're basically reintroducing through the building trades, and also MC3, that's the multi-craft core curriculum. Again, this is going to start a pathway to reintroduce the vocational courses and classwork necessary to rebuild our workforce, for the future. Everybody knows it's been stripped, so this is one thing that I've been trained in to teach, and it's also the collective participation of all the trades involved. So it's not just me going into a high school saying this is how you lay brick or block. I'm connected with Mike Hyatt, who's a tile setter. He'll come in. Dan Bukevich has connections with all the trades. So this is opening up doors to all trades, to all, or for at least Milwaukee area schools for now. And this is actually a model that can be used statewide. This is just something that we're really good at. Again, we're doing things that other areas aren't. We're at the forefront. But definitely we want to reach out to, again, it doesn't just have to be Milwaukee area high schools, but that's where our focus is. Again, reaching out to minorities who might not have the opportunity otherwise. So the building trades, MC3, those type of things, partnerships with all unions, all crafts. An individual might not want to do plumbing, or might not know what it's about. So we have hands-on events. We hold those annually. Again, with Apprentice Week coming up, we'll be doing a lot of hands-on. If a guy doesn't know what a plumber does or a elevator guy does, he gets to see firsthand, oh, I didn't know tile was that fun, that easy. You can make it look nice, So just exposing high schoolers at that age when they're kind of still moldable and in that sense, that's one thing that's invaluable to students who, again, might have not had that opportunity. So those are just a few of the things. Again, there's plenty of partnerships and community-based organizations that I've worked with. That we have Ola in the back for the pre-apprentice courses that he puts on in different areas. So these partnerships, again, are invaluable, are valuable, in reaching out to different groups. That's what we have to do. Use the people and the programs already in place to reach out to these groups.
Yeah, since you work with young people, one thing I hear is not only is the technical education been taken out of the schools, as you mentioned, but then a lot of young people just don't have the same experiences that they used to, because now we have video games and TV and not using their hands as much. Do you find that a lot of the young people just need to be shown which end of the hammer to hold if they want to knock in a nail? Or
no, it's like anything. If you don't know what you don't know, until you're exposed to something, you don't know how interesting it could be or how interesting it is. And I've noticed, to be honest with you, a lot of the young women that I have done hands-on career fairs with, they're a lot more just ready and eager to learn and grab a hammer or grab a tool and say, let me show you how to do it. So that's something that's really encouraging. To see that women stepping up and being able to try something new that's uncomfortable, and that's something that I see. But again, it's a cultural thing. It's a millennial thing where they want to. If you can't tweet it or if you can't text it, they're not interested. So another thing we've been exploring is to make things at career fairs more technical. So maybe have a virtual reality headset at some of these career fairs, or a visual they can see. You'll attract a different group, for one, and then, like I said, it just makes it more inclusive. So it's going to attract, a younger crowd. It's going to attract an older crowd. As long as you have something for everybody. And again, it's something that's ongoing. We can't really just do one thing that's going to work for everyone. So we just try to be more able to try different things for different people. That's all.
Yeah, big task there. Similar. We were just talking about all the different opportunities there are in the construction industry, the different paths you can take, and how it's not all just physical labor. I'm curious for John Swan, why did you decide to join the laborers specifically, and what opportunities for careers are there within the laborers trade?
Well, back in 1996, I started a program. As you know, minimum wage back then was $4.25. I come from low income housing, which is Westline, and I seen $4.25. I seen some information that was sent to my house, and it stated that you can become a construction worker and make $19.87. I chose the laborers because as an apprentice, you started off with that rate without having a college degree. $19.87 was a lot of money for me back then. When I worked on these projects and I started from start to finish, my yearly income at the age of 18 years old was $47,000. Okay, that was a lot. That was a game changer for me.
You were rich.
Yeah, I was rich back then. I thought I was. And like I said, that's why I know after 8 hours, that's why I say unions are very important. After 8 hours, you overtime, Saturdays overtime, Sundays double time. And that was very important for me. Laborers came in, and the reason I stayed with the laborers, we're the first on the job, last to leave. We cover different scopes of work from sewer and water, landscaping, building, heavy highway, tunneling, you name it, we do it. We assist every trade, you know. So pretty much if you do start off in the laborers, you pretty much know where you want to go after a few years after you vested, because you don't work with just about every trade out there. So it was something that I tell you right now, I would never turn back and say I made a mistake, because I was able to buy a $100,000 house at the age of 23 years old and put my family in it. So that's why I know I experienced it. And I would tell anyone, joining construction, union construction, taking your training is very important. Very important, because you not only get the training, you work safe, you meet a lot of good people, you meet contractors, you build relationships. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're a good worker, you're a hard worker, contractors gonna keep their good people. Even if you gotta work out in the yard, which means stacking material, snow removal, they're gonna make sure that you don't get lost in that shuffle. If you I took up a lot of classes during my time. Concrete was my specialty. The labor's pretty much, we do the foundation work. If you know concrete, it's pretty much set out there that you'll be the last person on the job. I learned the concrete, learned how to shoot elevation, and when you know how to pour concrete and pretty much finish it, you're gonna be the top #1 person on that project, because that's a necessity. Before you even go up, the foundation needs to be set. So I would say to anyone that's taking this construction industry, you can start off whatever trade you wanted. I chose the laborers. Good pay. And like I said, you work year round. We the inside, we even do final cleanup. When the Bucks Arena pretty much got turned over with Pfizer Forum, we even wiped the doorknobs down, okay, until the owner came and grabbed the keys, the landscaping. Any TM work that needed to be done, we pretty much, the laborers were there. And actually, we're still in there, some of us. So it's a great opportunity.
Did you have any experience working with your hands or in construction before you joined the laborers? Or
Never.
Really?
Never. I worked at Cops Frozen Custard on Port Washington. I flipped burgers and did ice cream. So I have I had no background in construction. I didn't know anything about it. The first thing I went for was the dollar amount. I said, I gotta have it. So that's why I stuck in there. Like I said, it was challenging. I had some battles, which I tell you, it was a learning experience. I kept wondering why I was under so much pressure. Now when things are come my way, it rolls off my back. It's get resolved, and we continue doing business like usual.
Yep, that's part of learning is how to deal with stress, right? Part of learning about a
Absolutely.
job. All right, well, we'll move down here to Jeb Meier. And what sort of success would you say Greenfire Management has seen so far with minority workers?
Yeah, we definitely take a lot of pride in some of the successes we've had recently. We've completed 4 projects with City of Milwaukee, SBE, and RPP requirements, all surpassing the goals. Like through outreach, through a fair, transparent bidding process, through creative partnerships, and connecting workforce, training groups with both subcontractors and projects. Like I mentioned before, overall we're looking to help build capacity and provide those opportunities. One additional experience that we had that we were proud of on the Garfield School renovation project, which was converted into affordable housing. Not only did we get nearly 60% RPP, but we also employed about 67 employees through Northcott on site and provided them experience. 7 of those employees actually ended up moving up to the Pfizer Forum after they got that experience. So we were proud of providing that opportunity, giving them that foundation, and allowing for continued growth.
Great. All right. Well, maybe moving back to the former line of questioning real quick is a similar question about high school for you, Willie. How do we get high school kids connected to careers in construction? What are you seeing out there that we need to do better or more of?
Well, one thing we know for sure that we're going to have to build things, tear things down, and build new things. So we always going to need construction people. Right next to the beautiful Pfizer Forum is the Bradley Center. And guess what? It's coming down. And when it comes down, something else is going to go up. So you're going to continue to have work in this area. You start talking about situations like Foxconn, all of the concrete for the new streets and freeways and entrances and exits. And I mean, it's just construction is a field that we're always going to have to build stuff, tear it down, and build new stuff. So young people, we need to get them exposed to it, and that's the key. So youth apprenticeship is a natural path to registered apprenticeship. So as a workforce board representing workforce area number 2 in Wisconsin, we believe that youth apprenticeship programming delivered by the Wisconsin Department of Workforce is very important, and we need to get that into many high schools as possible. As a workforce board in Milwaukee County, we know that there are school districts, both public and private, that don't have that type of programming in their schools. So we want to try to introduce that and make them become a part of the apprenticeship consortium. Very important, because we're talking about not just present workforce, we're talking about the future of workforce. So that's why it's important that we get young people involved in this early as possible. And in order to expand the availability of programming to these schools and to increase youth apprenticeship opportunity. I mean, right now we're already in, we're in West Allis High School, we're in Milwaukee, we're in Brown Deer High School, Nicolay High School, just some of the schools that's in Milwaukee County that we're working in. And then someone already mentioned myself, Tech and Obama High School. These are to get people exposed. So once you get the young people exposed, then you need the opportunities. As been stated by people at this panel, the opportunity is immense right now. They're looking for good workers. So the exposure, the education, the onboarding, and then the training to get young people into that career path is very important. And if we look at the way it's set up right now, and this is one of the things that Employ Milwaukee has been charged with, the system is not set up properly for young people to get involved in construction. So we're trying to change this through this consortium, the MC3 program, other initiatives, to just have people, young people know that there's opportunity for you in different trades, electrical, plumbing, carpentry, laborers, all kinds of opportunities for you to be gainfully employed for 25, 30 years. I just went to a award ceremony last week, and you had people retiring from construction companies.
They're still working.
Well, they got the legacy awards, though.
Lifetime achievement,
They
42
both were,
and
they're in over
43
like
years.
41 years.
Yes.
41 years
Yeah.
in construction.
Yeah.
The millennials not going to work anywhere in 41 months. So just the idea of having that stability and knowing that you're needed and knowing that you provide society with what it needs to keep rebuilding itself and replenishing itself is the story that needs to be told to young people. And I think once you tell them that story, more of them will be more attracted to it, and then we'll have that future workforce that we desperately need and that we all desire. So that's what Employ Milwaukee is trying to put that structure together so there's a career path if you want to get into the construction fields.
Yeah, well, great. Yes, I have a few other questions to ask here, but I actually thought if as long as everyone thinks we've kind of covered the big points, I might open it up to see if anybody in the audience has any questions. Does that sound agreeable to everyone?
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's see if we can get this out here.
As long as my bosses don't ask any questions.
Probably get a private audience with you as much as they
first,
want. All right. Well, I guess if anybody wants to come up here and grab the microphone from me, if you have a particular question. Oh, here he comes. Your worst nightmare.
Minorities in general face a lot of obstacles in the workforce. One of them being misclassification and pay disparity. How are the contractors? How are the unions? How is Milwaukee educating these people and what to do so they don't get taken advantage of?
I guess I'll talk first. You know, since I'm probably the most innocent in this. But that's why we're talking about building that network. Because if we build a network properly and it's put together the right way, then you won't have to deal with that because you'll understand clearly what the paths are, what the credentialing is, what the wages are, what the benefit packages are. They'll be universal, so they'll be the same or close to the same wherever you go based on the value that you bring with your credentialing and experience and so on and so forth. So having that in place is a good step towards alleviating some of that people not knowing exactly what they can get and what the market bears and so on and so forth. So that's why we're trying to put that in place at the workforce board.
And I think I can think of an example where about 4 years ago, we had a guy who had gone to Big Step. We were going to hire him, and he had gone to Big Step to try to get our RPP certified, and he missed the certification by $150. And there at the time, it was before we did the changes, and it was 30 days unemployed, less than 2,000 hours a year. And so I said to him, I was really upset. He had been going through really hard times. His wife was sick, and and we really needed to get someone. We were doing the Custer High School. We were doing the field. And it dawned on me that night, what did his taxes look like? And it turned out he had taken them to some Liberty guy with the Statue of Liberty, turning around. We sat down with him, we looked at his taxes, and he wasn't deducting his tools and all sorts of other things that he could do. And it turned out that by sending him to a different tax guy, he was able to get under that $150. He was able to get RPP certified. He ended up getting money back from the IRS on his taxes, and we hired him, and he's been working for us ever since. And you just never know what kind of services or where they're going to, what sub-services you're getting, substandard services you're getting that can change someone's life. And that was just one example of something that now we kind of look out for when we hire people. We ask them about that. Are you making those deductions that you qualify for? Who's doing your taxes? Are you getting back what you need to get back?
I just wanted to touch on something that was said as far as misclassification. It was kind of jumped over, but so one thing what we do is a lot of training, talking to people who are usually misclassified. We have international organizers who come down, who can speak the language that they speak, who look like them. They feel more comfortable coming out and letting you know what's really going on. So I can't come to an individual that's being misclassified and ask them questions, because I don't speak their language, I don't look like them. But we have people, again, those partnerships that we have internationally, they come down instrumental in communicating with these people, getting their stories, making sure that they get their money back if it's owed to them, and basically creating that relationship, again, with those partnership, LACLA, any group that's being misclassified. You connect with those groups, you reach out to the individuals who know these people, they know the language, they know, how to talk to them. This is going to create that trust. It's all about trust. I don't want to talk to somebody if I can't trust them, to help me. So that's one thing that we do, a lot of trainings. We have individuals in place already. And this is not something that's for a union person. We're not doing things just for union people. This is for all people. So that's one thing that I'm really proud of, that we have individuals who can step up to the plate, help these people regain their dignity and get their money, what they're worth. So that's one thing that we do.
Yeah, that's a big issue, misclassification. I know the state's been trying to crack down on it a little bit more. Would you guys say it's still pretty rampant in the industry, or do you think it's getting better, or what do you see out there on the ground?
It's getting better.
Getting better.
Training is huge. The individual, he has to take the training if he, participates. He has to take the training. That's very important. If he's a type of, or she is the type of person that's just like to sit and wait for a phone call, you're not going to make it in this. You got to get the training, make yourself marketable for that contractor and for yourself.
I think the construction industry is changing a lot, and I've been doing this about 25 years for Hunzinger, and I could say in the last 10 years, especially since the recession, as we're coming out of the recession, you see how the building trades, how Dan and Ken Kramer are working with WRTP Big Step and Employ Milwaukee, and working with the aldermen to revamp, which was done a little over a year, almost 2 years ago, the RPP program, to the city utilizing LCP Tracker. I think all those things are helping with the clarifications around the classifications, but also just the training and getting the word out. I think that there have been a lot of really, really positive changes, but our industry is also, as we're changing for the better, we're also, there's a threat or the industry is lagging. There's a lot of competition with non-union contractors now that's very different. I think there aren't always the same protections of safety, of training, of the classifications that the Milwaukee, that the union contractors provide and the unions provide to their workers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Got the hardball questions here from the audience.
I'm sorry, this isn't so much of a question as a comment, but what you just said, I appreciate you saying that, Joan. What I also see is that not a lot of people in the broader community understand the training opportunities that are embedded in the labor model that the trades provide, in that once you're in, it was mentioned before that the training's provided free of charge. And so you get your foot in the door, like John told his personal story. He didn't know anything about construction. He got in, he started learning on the job. But in the winter months when it's cold and you might be laid off, there's hundreds of hours of free training that's available to people, and it's all part of the union contract. It's self-funded. We take out of our wage package. We negotiate with the general contractors a wage package that's a number, and then within that, we decide ourselves. We're putting 8 cents an hour, 25 cents an hour, 22 cents an hour, whatever it is, away in a training fund. And when you looked at all the trades collectively, it's a multi-million-dollar self-funded, no government tax dollars, private sector opportunity. So you might start on a road project, but then you can go and learn sewer and water in your off time. You might start doing demolition, and then you might go learn a different aspect of a trade in your off time. And that's how you're going to have all these skills to grow and stay in it for 40 years. So I just think that more people need to understand that it's not always like, oh, we need more tax dollars from Madison to make this work. We have a really awesome system working right now.
Right. Thank you. Anybody want to follow up on that with a comment or a ditto or a well said? Yeah. Anybody else have a question from the audience?
I felt some millennial shade, so I had to come represent.
I like it.
I've been at Prism for 7 years, so it definitely makes sense starting the schools. Kids need to know their options. But I had a question regarding the drug testing. Would it be too far-fetched to do that in the process, the hiring process sooner, so you could weed out the applicants who don't qualify, so time and money?
Because it costs money to do it.
Right.
So you don't want to just start doing it with everyone who you get an application from, or you get, it's prevalent, and it's not shade on millennials. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's 50-year-old people.
Yeah.
It's all races. It's all sexes. It's crazy.
Yeah, I would think time could be more valuable than money in some situations, because in the long run,
Yeah.
you're wasting time and money, hiring the wrong people, getting so many wrong people coming. But that was my 2 cents.
I'm gonna comment on that just a little bit. For the bricklayers, we have a pre-job program where individuals come in, out of high school, off the street, doesn't matter, but we kind of give them a heads up. You're going to be making good money, so before we send them out to a contractor, we're basically vetting them, giving them the opportunity to get their life together, because just because somebody smokes doesn't mean they're going to do that forever. If you give them incentive, say, this is a family sustaining job, you'll be able to buy as much weed as you want when you retire, okay? But no, just telling them that there is an opportunity here. You don't want to waste it for just that, But again, our pre-job program, it tells them right away, this is your opportunity. You got a chance. Maybe it's because our pre-job is anywhere from 8 weeks to 12 weeks. So that should be enough time for you to figure it out before we send you to a contractor and waste that money. So again, this is all self-funded in-house with the bricklayers. We put our 22 cents in or whatever an hour, but it kind of vets that person, and gives them that opportunity to either get their life together or, do what you want to do, I guess. So.
And just in workforce in general, that's a big barrier.
Yes.
It's a huge barrier, and one of the reasons why the construction trade has been an area where returning citizens could get involved, because they don't discriminate against returning citizens. If they're hard workers and they put in the time and they do the things they need to do, they're welcome to become part of the family. But when you start talking about drug use, that's a liability issue. And there's nowhere around from an insurance standpoint that you can, take risks when it comes to people not being of sane mind and body, or being under the influence of some type of drug while they're operating heavy equipment and doing other things. I mean, the construction trade is very dangerous. I mean, these buildings are tall, very high, and it's a team sport. One person not complying with what they need to could cause harm to other people. So that drug test thing is something that people gonna have to come to grips with. And my opinion is the people who want it will do it, and the people who don't, maybe they can go back and get themselves together and come back at another time. But I don't see that going away anytime soon.
One more? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like she says, a chicken and the egg thing. It's hard. You gotta.
Okay, maybe one more question here.
Continuing with that theme, how are your contemporaries in states where marijuana is legal dealing with this issue? Is it a barrier to employment? Are people fired for something they did on the weekend? I'm just curious as to how it works in other states.
Well, my experience has been dealing with workforce board people and around the different states is that it's still up to the employer. It can be legal in the state, but the employer doesn't, they still get to do their own rules and regulations when it comes to their business and their job. So that's what I've been hearing. So if just because my construction company would happen to be in Colorado, I think it's legal in Colorado, don't mean that, people don't, I as a company, that I can't require them to pass a drug test.
We opened an office in Denver a couple years ago, and you're right. You can still require it. It is super hard to find people, but it's not just us. It's the subcontractors, and there's a lot more kind of calling in sick and hard to get a subcontractor onto a job. It'll be interesting to see what happens in 5 to 10 years if that's going to stay, because I think it's having a really significant impact on the workforce and in construction.
Do they, I just got a quick question
Yeah.
for her. Do they test the levels or do they test the presence?
Well, they test like there's pre-employment testing, so you can be clean, so you stay clean for your 30 days, and then once you're on a job site, if there's an accident, there's testing. So then if you test positive, you're in trouble.
Not for levels, but for
Right,
presence.
for presence.
Okay, all
And
right.
so, but what'll happen is a lot of companies, once you're employed, they don't test you anymore. But it's really hard. The reliability of the workforce isn't the same. And part of that, I think, is kind of Midwest more values versus, oh, it snowed, so everybody's skiing, or, oh, let's, I partied too much last night. It's just the reliability of the workforce is just, it's remarkable how unreliable they are. So,
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So what do the insurance companies say about this?
oh, it's expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured that.
Oh, wait, you got time for one more, or what time is it? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm guessing in Colorado, too, you have a lot of people who move there specifically for that reason. So, it's,
Right.
yeah. So you get that, too.
I just wanted to make a comment on the drug testing. So if you are an applicant, legally, you can't drug test unless you have an offer of employment. So you can't just screen anybody. You have to put a conditional offer of employment on the table before you can ask them to drug test. With the local that we work with is 494, that's electrical. We have a very lenient drug alliance policy, so they do give them many different chances. So they do the pre-employment, but then we do random drug testing after that, and then reasonable suspicion post-accident. But during that, if you do come up positive, it's not an automatic elimination. You get your 30 days. If it's a second one, you get longer, then, you still, I think it's like up to 5 chances. I mean, the progression of the discipline gets a little heavier each time, but there are chances for people to kind of come back into it and do good by it. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Great. Do we have one more, or? All right. Last one here. Obviously, I should put a question on the list about drug testing. This is an interesting tangent we've taken here, but.
Everything I've heard so far, great. However, the front office of contractors, they mean well, but those who work in the field sometimes frustrate ethnic minorities, especially if they are just brand new employees. You have to do a better job talking to your field workers that they should encourage and mentor young people or ethnic minorities who come to your job. Because after 1 week, 2 weeks, they get frustrated and they want to leave because somebody is saying some nasty things to them, or they are not showing them how to do something. They are not skilled when they come to you. What we do in our program in Racine, first and foremost, they have to understand that if you hire them, you want to make money, and they too will make money. So what we do is not the OSHA 30 or OSHA 10 in the beginning. We give them the wraparound services that makes people successful. Because when they come to you, they're going to be on time every day, and they're going to follow instructions. So the people in the front office or the HR need to talk to your field workers, encourage these ethnic minorities, mentor them so that they can also be successful. John Swan is a successful laborer. Somebody mentored him. Tim is successful because somebody mentored him. And if you don't have that as part of what you do, you're going to fail. What I say is this: if you mentor ethnic minorities in your crafts, they become valuable to you. You don't hire new people every year. You keep them. You have a valuable employee. That is the charge that contractors have here. Follow that charge, and you're going to have a diverse group of people working for you that looks like this place, America.
Great. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. I think that was a really good discussion. And
Can I just make a comment about what he just said?
Yeah. Please.
Does my mic still work?
I think it's still on.
Yeah, still work? So don't say anything negative about any politicians.
Yeah, right.
All right, gotcha. What that gentleman just said is not just only true in construction, but as a workforce board, we find that to be true across industry sectors, especially in manufacturing, healthcare, because there's some cultural differences. Some people are used to doing business the way they did business in the past, and the workforce is different now, and you have to make some adjustments to how the workforce is different. But on the other hand, the supply side, the workforce, they have to make some adjustments to their lifestyle too, because they're getting paid for production. So some of the things that they think is all right, like a 20-minute break when you only got a 15-minute break, or talking on your phone just because you're mad at your girlfriend and she called you, or all of that kind of stuff that's cultural. There's some adjustments that have to be made on both sides if, as a region, we're going to have a successful workforce so we can retain, grow, and recruit businesses into this area. So what you're saying, sir, I agree with 100%. I use this analogy sometimes when I'm talking to people. The old workforce, you had rabbits, so you had lettuce and carrots in your vending machines. Well, now you have squirrels, so you need berries and nuts.
All right. Well, I think that leads right into lunch. But thanks to everybody again. And yeah, I think we really got onto some interesting topics that were not on the not on the script. So I think that means we had a good discussion. Thanks again.